Hey there, it is Valerie McDowell, your writer, editor, author, book coach, and consultant, here for another episode of Write It Out Wednesday. It is Wednesday, July 21st. We are here. We are more than halfway through the year. It is a blazing hot day here in the DMV as well as throughout much of this country. And so I hope you're staying cool. I hope you're staying hydrated, and I hope you're at least enjoying the heat to some degree. All right. So tonight, well, first of all, what is Write It Out Wednesday? This is the day where we put you back at the top of your writing list. It's where we give you tips, we give you stories, we give you helpful hints, or we share with you all the kinds of wonderful things that are going on in the world of writing and writing your stories. And so just last week, I was on the Dose of Dano podcast, and he's an amazing, just young person who's just doing great things, lots of good energy. He has a positivity posse. So, for people who are totally into making sure that you're living a positive life, and I have a positivity, the princess of positivity, even in my life as well. So, speaking, living, being a part of good energy is one way to keep things going. And so while I was on his Dose of Dano show, which I just love that title, something that stood out to me as I answered different questions that he was asking, and he kept circling it back, saying that, whenever I ask you a question about you, you turn it right back to what you did for this person or how you were able to help that person. And what I added to him, I said, well, I guess that really is the case. But what I know to be true is that the gifts that I have, the things that I've been called to do, are on the outside of me. Like my gifts are, I'm an introvert with extrovert gifts, I like to say. So the things that I've been called to do are for other people. It's not necessarily for me. It's for other people. And so that had me thinking, like I went out walking and I got out early before it got hot. Because I think that our gifts, our talents, even our stories are not just for us, but they're really given to us to share with others. I mean, think about shows like American Idol and America's Got Talent. A lot of people love these shows. They've been on American Idol 20 years. I don't know how long America's Got Talent because they have a British version. But these shows have been on for years because people love them and they love to see what gifts and talents these people are going to share. On American Idol, of course, they're sharing their singing talent, but on America's Got Talent, you don't know what's going to go on. They have some of the most incredible things that you've never even thought about, where people are showcasing their gifts. But the thing they all have in common, no matter what show they're on, whether it's on TV or even in your living room, is that, the whole world or their family or friends get to experience that gift. They're excited to share it because they get to show you what they can do. And so even if that stage, like I said, is the school auditorium or your living room or even the neighborhood stoop, what you have or what you get to do is always better when you share with others. And so even for me, the gifts I have, particularly when it comes to writing and helping people write and publish their books, is the writing and editing aspect. I love that. I love making words pop off the page. I love making sure that your story is told in a way that people remember it. And I simply love helping others share their stories and strategies for living, overcoming, or excelling in ways that can be transferred to the reader. So, and another thing, that I help do is, help you with that framework, because right now, I know that even though, we're talking about, how what I'm doing is for others, that in our world today, self-care is one of those buzzwords. We hear about it everywhere. It's being rightly highlighted rather in advance because the world has been and remains like a very pressurized environment for so many people. Every day you turn on the news, every day you wake up, your phone beeps or this, it's one thing after another. You're like, woo, I just want to turn it off. Especially when it comes to self-care, you want to make sure that you put your own oxygen mask on before you've gone out to try to help others. And I recognize that. But in that, even in the helping and supporting and encouraging of the work that we do, and I do in particular, these are the basic external things we do to help bring joy and happiness and advancement. And so whether you do that indirectly or directly, even if it's not always appreciated, you have to remember those gifts are not for you. And so shine your light, share your gift or talent, or your story and try to do good wherever you go. So that's sort of my little prep for what I want to talk to you about today, because I'm very excited because I have now published 30 books in the last 30 months. Okay, 30 for 30 here. 30 is a very important number in many ways. 30 is a very high spiritual number. And so, and 3 and 0 and all those numbers, they just mean so much to me. And so I just want to give a shout out to all of my wonderful authors. And you're going to be seeing a good many of them next week and in August, rather, where I'm going to be highlighting in our author showcase. We're going to do a spotlight on many of these authors who have come through my program or through my one-on-one coaching, in which we have taken their ideas and we have turned them into a published book. So there is a quote by a guy named David Khalil that says, "Be willing to share your blessings. The only riches that last are the ones that are given away." So that's sort of where I want to go tonight, what I want to talk to. And so as we put on our Write It Out Wednesday cap, I want to share 5 reasons why your story is not just for you. Okay, 5 reasons why your story is not just for you. So the first reason, okay, number 1, drum roll please, stories connect us, okay? The number 1 reason why your story is not just for you is because stories connect us. You know, you may feel that your life is simple, random, ordinary, but it may seem extraordinary to someone else. My friend Chatone, when I was on her show on Sunday Corner this past Sunday, she was like, "You have a big life. Like, there are so many things that you are doing." And I was like, I don't think I've ever heard anybody say I had a big life, you know? So that was a nice, you know, description of things that I've done over time. And so, you know, and I believe that every story shared is a chance to make someone else feel less alone and also to help you live a happier and healthy life. Because stories connect us. When you share your story, then someone else can be like, "Oh, wow, that resonated for me. Like, oh my God, that was my story, or I felt the same way." And so your ability to be able to share your story is a way for you to connect with others, okay? So that's number 1. What is number 2? Well, number 2 reason why your story is not just for you is that stories bring out our emotions, okay? They bring out your emotions. So, and one of the things that I really love helping people to do is taking your reader on a journey through your story. You know, we want to make sure that they feel and understand that they can, you know, go through the process with you. You know, if you cried writing it, they're going to cry reading it. If you were scared or angry or overwhelmed, they're going to feel all that if you put the right words in. And as your book coach and editor, I can help you do that. You know, but the more you express your emotions, the more you share how you feel or how you felt while those things were happening, the more you put people in that. You know, I know there was a movie, like I grew up in New York, and, you know, they were building the World Trade Center then in the 70s. And my father actually worked in one, and he retired from 2 World Trade Center just before, you know, 9/11 happened. But, you know, I remember going there and seeing it, but they did this movie about the high wire guy. And even though I'm watching it in the comfort of my living room, you know, and this took place 40, 50 years ago, I felt like I was on the high wire with him. That's how well that story was done. You know, in order to show this guy, Philip Fati, who came from Paris or from France, and he was a high wire. He juggled, he did all kinds of things. But whenever he saw 2 buildings and a piece to put between them, he was walking across it. He didn't care. He started out just, you know, a few feet off the ground in his hometown. And it turned into him walking between towers at the Notre Dame to him coming to New York and walking across between the 2 World Trade Centers. I felt all of that. I moved back from my seat in my house watching a movie because I felt like, oh my God, he's going to fall. And I was falling with him. But that's what stories do. They bring out your emotions. They bring out your fears. They bring out your being overwhelmed or scared or whatever. You know, I also saw another movie, Where the Crawdads Sing. Has a nice twist ending. Didn't see that coming because it didn't read the book. But it's like, oh my God, that's what your stories can do. So whether, you know, you take them on a high, like I will probably be writing about, I have a new grandbaby coming. And so it's like, I'm so excited. We are 2 centimeters dilated. So any moment now, any day now, we will get there. And so, but what kind of feeling can you evoke out of your readers? Hey, Michelle, good to have you watching us tonight. We're talking about the 5 reasons why your story is not just for you. Okay. And our first reason was that stories connect us. Okay. Stories connect us. Number 2, stories bring out your emotions. And we're on number 3 now. And the reason is that stories are powerful. Okay. Stories are powerful. Speaking up about your experiences and about what's important to you is an easy and effective way to create change, to start conversations, and even to connect with the people around you. Okay? So, hey, B Sweets, good to have you here. We're talking about 5 reasons why your story is not just for you. Had a little noise there. But we're talking about, these things that are so powerful. Like, our stories are not for us, okay? Or not just for us. You can write your story and you can love it, but it's so much bigger and better when you share it with other people. Like the minute you read that story out loud, the minute you share your poem, that spoken word, that piece of poem, it makes a difference because someone else will like, wow. I'm collaborating with one of my colleagues, and she said when I shared this poem with her over a year ago, she was like, I was just stunned, and that's a great emotion. Stunned, like you want people to have a very strong reaction to what you write, and stunned is a good reaction, okay? Not too many things stun me, So I appreciated that emotion coming from her. But again, your stories are powerful. So whether it has some tragic parts, traumatic, overwhelming, harrowing, scary, horror, whatever it is, your story matters. Even if it's a great love story. One of my colleagues, the one I just mentioned, Chatone, I was on her Sunday Corner, and we have this relationship where she knows all my stories, okay? She knows just way too many of them. And there's one, it's a reserved for a certain person. And I wrote it back in high school. Oh my God. And when I shared it with her, she was like, you got to write that book. Oh my God, you got to write that book. If you don't write that book, I'm going to write that book. I was like, how you going to write my book? She's like, if you don't write that book, I'm going to write that book. Because we make up things for a living, right? But the thing is, we are storytellers, so we can add what's not even there. That's what they do with movies all the time. That's why I say it's adapted from a real story, or it's based on a real story. That's because they have to add other stuff. The writers come in and they add those things that are missing that make you sit on the edge of your seat or jump back or do whatever it is that happens when you're watching or reading a good story. And the thing is, many books, okay, get turned into film. That's what the whole Harry Potter series is about. That she wrote, I don't know, 10, 12 books, but the 10, 12 movies they made, that's why she's a billionaire, okay? Because you never know where that story is going to take you. Because the world she created for children, is now an amusement park, attraction, and so many other things. Kids were waiting. I remember, all the hype, the book came out at midnight. They'd be at bookstores, back when bookstores still existed, and all these things. And there was a lot of things going on. Hey, Regine, good to see you, my dear. And so, so many things can happen when you share a story, because stories are powerful. Okay, so we're here for Write It Out Wednesday. We are talking about 5 reasons why your story is not just for you. And all of you ladies here, your stories are not just for you. They are so much bigger. They get to share, a time and a place. They get to share things that you experience that other women need to understand and know about, and know that they're not alone. And so all of our stories. So our first 3 points were stories connect us. Okay, number 1. Number 2, stories bring out your emotions. And then stories are powerful, okay? Stories are powerful. And so number 4, okay? Number 4, I like this one. Stories have been told forever, okay? Storytelling has always been a big part of society and relationships. From biblical stories to, our First Nation, Native American people, from Latin American and African societies, all people use stories, okay? Many date back tens and thousands of years, and that was the only way to pass history along. People were not writing. People were not, didn't have pens, didn't have a laptop, didn't have iPad, none of that stuff you guys got. Couldn't blink their eye and stuff just happened, okay? They had to tell stories. And that was how they were able to pass their history, pass their legacy, pass the stories of the prior generation. Even how do you do things? Because they taught you. They told the story of how we tamed the animals, how we broke up the land, how we cook certain foods. They would talk about it. And then that was our first tradition, the oral tradition, but now by writing your story, writing those recipes down, because many of us who've grown up, watching our mothers or grandmothers, it's like they didn't write nothing down. They ain't write nothing down. They're like, well, you put just enough in there until it's right. Well, how will you know it's right? When it tastes right. How many of you grew up cooking like that? But the thing is, their memories, they went by the story. So they would just tell you, and you catch it while you're there, But thank God for the written word. As you can see behind me, there's lots of written word on my bookshelves, and I'm a book coach, so this is what I do. But by writing your story, you are able to preserve tradition. You are able to preserve the history, and you're able to leave a legacy for those who come after you. All right. So that's number 4. And our 5th point, because we're talking about 5 ways that that your story's not just for you, is that stories, in addition to the past, stories, number 5, open your eyes to the future. Okay. Stories open your eyes to the future. There is something inside of us that says we are designed to live for something greater than ourselves. Okay. So thank you for that love. Give me some shout outs. Give me some love. We are not designed to just exist for ourselves. Okay. That's why relationships are so important. That's why kids, that's why community, that's why all the people that we interact with. Like, I'm so blessed that I get to connect with you guys. I didn't know you before, but because my story wasn't just for me, I get to live my life with you guys in it. So thank you. I'm grateful that you guys are a part of my life. And so, our contribution to this world has to be measured by something more meaningful than, it's great if you have a wonderful house, you got a nice car, you got clothes, you got all these things, but those are all things that pass away. Those are all things that after a while, you want something new. You want another house, you want more clothes, you want a different car, but your story gets told time and time and time again. I mean, how many times have you got together with your family and you hear this story and you be like, oh no, Uncle James gonna tell that story all over again. Or daddy's gonna, oh my God, here come daddy gonna tell that story, how he met mama, or whatever it is. But it's like, you remember the story. You remember where they were, what happened. You remember your own stories. And truth be told, you are already starting to tell the same stories over and over again. Why? Because they matter. Because they open your eyes to the future. They let you know, what did I do right? Many of you have retired, or you were in successful careers, or you've gone through lots of educational attainment. But it's like, well, what did it take for you to get there? What did you have to do to get to that level? It's worth telling. It's worth sharing. It's like if you have nieces and nephews or other relatives coming along and watching you, what's the story? What are you going to tell them? If you put in them, these are the 5 things that I did. These are the 10 steps. This is how I filled out this report. And the thing is, if you never have a legacy, if you don't tell these stories, they won't know. Okay. So the stories are the things in which legends are born. Okay. I mean, bottom line, legends are born from people telling their stories. I mean, how many stories you like? Oh my God, did that happen? Yes. Yes, it did. I think Jackie Robinson's widow, I think, is 100 years old today. I think that's what I read. So, I mean, just imagine the history that she's seen over this time. So many stories. And by telling your story, it can change the trajectory of your life, okay? Like, you tell your story and boom, it can catapult you places you hadn't even dreamed of, just because you told your story. Especially when you tell your honest, truthful, authentic story. So many times we're afraid. We're like, oh my God, what will people say? Ooh, I'm ashamed, I'm embarrassed. It's life. Once you tell your story and people start connecting, you're like, really? You too? I'm not the only one. You're never the only one. Okay. As long as there's people on the earth, you're never going to be the only one that experiences something, but how you tell your story is the twist. Okay. And that's why I love being a book coach, because 10 people, I mean, it's like teachers or parents, like parents can tell their kids all the same thing. Teachers can teach the one lesson to 30 different kids, but everybody's going to take it in a different way. And your experience with that teacher, your experience with your parents, your kids' experience, even with you, is always different. Your siblings, how, this brother and sister, in the family might have connected this way, but had a totally different experience with, this sister and brother. So your version, your perspective, your insight, your style, your personality is what adds to those stories. And so that's what I have for you today. So I want you to get out there and write your story, because you never know the impact it will make. And particularly because it's time to tell your story. So I know you guys already know that. And so I just wanted to put out a reminder here, because next Thursday is going to be the first of our author showcases, summer edition. So we're doing one next Thursday at 8 p.m. And then we're going to do another one in August at the end of the month, also on the 25th, also at 8 p.m. on a Thursday. And so we're going to bring in as many authors as I can get in, just to share your experience with writing your book and getting published for the first time for many of you. And then also, what have you been doing since then? I want to know what you've been doing since then, because I think not only for you, again, tell your story. This is an opportunity to put out there, what have you been doing since you published a book? There are many avenues and many things that you can do with your book. And I would love for you to share with our listeners, our viewers, what have you been doing since you published your book? Because a lot of people are like, okay, well, I wrote a book, now what? We've got people who've got all kinds of things going on. They've started programs, they've got podcasts, they're teaching, they're speakers, all kinds of wonderful things. So I want to hear from you. So we've got a few slots open for next week. And I know a lot of people already signed up for August, but, go ahead and sign up. We will fit you in. Or if we got to do a third session, we'll do a third session. But come on, sign up. I want to see you. I want to bring you out. I want to highlight you and let you share your book. You can promote your books like, hey, you can find my book. We'll get a link and we'll put it down for people to be able to find all your books. We'll showcase. I'm going to try to put a video together real quick so we could just show all the books that we've done. 30 books in 30 months, people. 30 books in 30 months. I'm like, woohoo. I'm so proud of that accomplishment. And thanks to you telling your stories, okay? You guys have been telling your stories. I've only been a vessel to help you get it out there to the public. And so I want to thank you for joining me here for another episode of Write It Out Wednesday. We've been talking about 5 reasons why your story is not just for you. So the link will be posted real soon, and I'll see you next time. All right. Have a great evening. Bye.